If people don't feel your words, they won't follow your voice. That one truth changes everything about communication. Most people talk to be heard. Leaders talk to be remembered. The difference isn't in volume. It's in precision, clarity, strength, and timing. If your voice isn't respected, your ideas won't matter. If your words don't hold weight, your presence won't lead anyone. This audiobook is your guide to building a voice that commands respect without needing to shout. A voice that creates action without needing to impress. A voice that speaks to people's minds and moves their decisions. You don't need big words. You need strong ones. You don't need to talk more. You need to talk better. In this chapter-by-chapter breakdown, you'll learn how to communicate like someone worth listening to. Real, practical, direct skills that you can apply immediately in everyday conversations, high-pressure moments, and leadership roles. This is for those who want to lead, not someday, but now. If your words don't lead, nothing else will. It starts here. Chapter 1. Own every word you say with full confidence. That's where leadership begins. If you speak and your words don't carry weight, then you're just making noise, and noise doesn't move people. Noise doesn't change minds. Noise doesn't build trust. But when you speak with confidence, when you speak like every word matters, people notice, they listen, they lean in. Most importantly, they remember. Confidence doesn't mean being loud. It doesn't mean showing off. It means you stand behind your words. It means you believe what you're saying. And if you don't believe what you're saying, why should anyone else? Confidence starts when you stop second-guessing yourself and start taking full responsibility for every word that comes out of your mouth. Most people speak halfway. They're not sure. They throw out phrases like, I think, maybe, I guess, or I'm not sure. And every time they do that, they weaken their message. They lose people. Because the truth is, nobody follows someone who sounds unsure. Nobody buys into a message that sounds shaky. And nobody gets inspired by someone who doesn't believe in their own voice. If you want to talk like a leader, you need to decide that your words matter. You need to mean what you say what you mean, and take full ownership of it. When you speak, people need to feel that you're serious. They need to feel that you're grounded, that what you're saying is not just talk. It's who you are. It's what you stand for. So how do you do that? You start by paying attention to the words you use every day. Most people speak out of habit. They talk just to talk. But a leader speaks with intention. You don't waste your words. You don't ramble. You don't water things down. You speak straight. You speak real. And you speak with the kind of presence that says, I've earned the right to be listened to. Now, confidence in your words also comes from preparation. If you don't know what you're talking about, your voice will shake. Your message will fall apart. That's why leaders prepare. They think, they reflect, they get clear so that when the time comes to speak, they're not making it up as they go. They've already done the work. They've already thought through what matters. And that's why their words carry power, because those words have already been tested in their own life. Also gross when you're... If you say one thing and do another, people will see through it, and eventually you'll start doubting yourself too. You can't talk like a leader if you're not living like one, because people listen more to your example than your explanations. They listen more to how you live than to what you say. When your behavior backs up your words, then you don't have to try so hard to sound confident. You become confident because you've earned it. And another thing, stop apologizing for your truth. Stop shrinking your message to make other people comfortable. Leaders don't speak to be liked. They speak to be clear. They speak to lead. If you're always worried about what people think, you'll never say anything worth listening to. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to be aggressive, but you do have to be firm. You do have to be real. And that means you own your truth, even if not everyone agrees with it. When you walk into a room and speak, the room should feel it, not because you're loud, but because you're solid. You're steady, and people can feel that you're not guessing your way through life. You've made decisions, you've built beliefs, you've tested ideas. And now you speak from experience, not just opinion. That's what gives your words weight. It also means you stop using soft language to protect your ego. Cut out the fillers. Cut out the uncertainty. If you believe in something, say it. If you stand for something, speak it. If something's not right, call it out. Too many people weaken their voice trying to sound nice, but leadership isn't about sounding nice. Oh, it's about speaking what matters even when it's uncomfortable. Confidence in your words also comes from being okay with silence. Weak speakers rush to fill every pause. They're afraid of quiet, but strong communicators know that silence can be powerful. You say something important, then you pause. You give people time to hear it, to feel it, to let it land. You don't rush, you don't beg for approval. You say what needs to be said and then you wait. And that silence speaks just as loudly as your words. Now, here's something you should always remember. Your voice is your tool, not your crutch. Oh, you don't talk to prove yourself. You don't speak to look smart. You speak to serve a purpose. You speak to lead people towards something better. And when you know that, your voice changes. Your tone shifts. You stop performing. You start leading because now you're not talking to impress. You're talking to impact. Talking like a leader isn't about using big words. It's not about having the perfect grammar. It's not about showing off your vocabulary. It's about being clear. It's about being certain. It's about being real. People follow that. People respond to that. Because in a world full of noise, real voices stand out. So if you want to talk like a leader, the first thing you have to do is this. Own every word you say. Stop outsourcing your voice. Stop doubting your message. Speak with your chest. Speak from your gut. Speak like you mean it. And every time you do, your confidence grows. Your presence grows. Your leadership grows. Because once you own your words, you start owning your space. You show up differently. You carry yourself with a kind of quiet power. People can see it in your face. They can hear it in your tone. They can feel it in your presence. You're no longer trying to sound like a leader. You are one. And that changes everything. Chapter 2. Speak clearly so no one misunderstands your message. That's one of the most important habits you can develop if you want to lead people, influence them, or even just be taken seriously in your daily life. Clear speaking is not about being fancy. It's not about being complicated words. It's not about sounding impressive. It's about being understood. And when people understand you, they trust you. When they trust you, they listen. When they listen, things start to happen. But if people can't understand what you're saying, then it doesn't matter how good your ideas are. It doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how well-intentioned you are. If your words don't land, you lose the moment, you lose connection, you lose respect, and worst of all, people start filling in the blanks. They start guessing what you meant. And guess what? People rarely guess in your favor. That's why clarity is everything. If people don't hear you clearly, they will misunderstand you. And once your message gets lost, so does your influence. Talking like a leader means you take full responsibility for making your message clear. You don't dump information on people and expect them to figure it out. You think before you speak. You slow down. You strip away all the fluff. You stop trying to sound smart and focus on being understood. That's how strong communication begins. Most people never learn this. They talk fast, they ramble, they assume others know what they mean, they skip steps in their explanation, and they leave a trail of confusion everywhere they go. Then they wonder why people don't follow them, why people don't trust them, why their team is disorganized. The answer is simple. Unclear words create unclear minds. If people are confused after you speak, that's not their fault, it's yours. So what does clear speaking really look like? It starts with knowing what you want to say before you say it. If your thoughts are scattered, your words will be scattered. You have to think through your ideas. Be specific. Don't speak in vague terms. Say exactly what you mean. If you're asking someone to do something, say it in one straight line. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't try to sound impressive. Just be real and direct. Clarity also means cutting out all the extra words that water down your point. If you can say it in 5 words, don't use 15. If your message gets lost in too much talking, people tune out. They stop listening. They get overwhelmed. And once people stop listening, you lose their attention. Leaders don't waste attention. They get to the point and they stay on point. Speaking clearly means using words that people actually understand. Don't try to sound intelligent by using technical language. Speak their language. Meet them where they are. If you're giving instructions to your team, explain it in a way that makes sense to them. If you're teaching someone something new, break it down simply, not because they aren't smart, but because your job is to connect. not confuse. One of the best things you can do to speak clearly is slow down. When you speak too fast, your words lose power. Your sentences run together. People miss key parts. Slowing down shows control. It shows thoughtfulness, and it gives people time to process what you're saying. Fast talking often comes from insecurity. People think they need to rush through their ideas to sound sharp. But leaders don't rush. They pause. They let their words settle. That pause makes people lean in. That pause adds weight to your message. You also need to be aware of your tone. Your tone carries meaning that your words alone can't. You can say the right words with the wrong tone and people will still take it the wrong way. Or you can say something simple with a strong tone and it will hit hard. Tone is your attitude made audible. If your tone is all over the place, too flat, too angry, too unsure, your message loses clarity. People won't know what to take seriously and what to ignore. That's why you train your tone to match your message. If you're serious, sound serious. If you're excited, sound excited. Don't send mixed signals. Another reason people fail to speak clearly is they get caught up trying to say everything at once. You don't need to tell the whole story in one breath. You don't need to explain every single detail all at once. Pick your main point and build around it. Stick to one idea at a time. Make it easy for people to follow. Give them time to absorb what you're saying. Simplicity isn't weakness, it's strength. If you can explain a big idea in a small number of words, that's leadership. Sometimes speaking clearly means repeating your main point once. The minimum discipline is repeating the same main point not 5 times, just once. And not because you're unsure, but because people need time to grasp what matters. You say it clearly, you pause. You say it again with certainty, then you move forward. Not in circles, not in loops straight ahead. You also need to pay attention to how people react when you talk. Watch their eyes. Watch their face. Are they confused? Are they distracted? Are they locked in? Your words should pull people in. If they're pulling away, adjust. Real leaders pay attention to feedback in real time. They clarify when needed. They ask, does that make sense? Not as filler, but as a genuine check. And if the answer is no, they don't defend. They explain again in a better way. And here's something most people overlook. Your body language. Your message isn't just your words, it's your posture, it's your face, it's your hands, it's your presence. If your words say one thing and your body says something else, people will believe that means standing up straight. That means facing the person. That means showing that you're present, not distracted. It all adds to your clarity. Clear speaking is also built through practice. You don't wait for the big moments to develop this skill. You train it daily. You practice it in regular conversations. You work on getting to the point. You work on using better words. You work on asking better questions. You improve how you explain your ideas. That's how leaders sharpen their message. Not just through big speeches, but through everyday conversations done right. Clarity is earned. It's a skill. It's a decision. Every time you open your mouth, you have the opportunity to build trust or break it. You have the chance to guide people or confuse them. And you have the responsibility to speak in a way that makes your message easy to understand. So stop hiding behind complicated language. Stop hoping people will figure out what you meant. Stop rushing your words hoping they land. Make a new decision today. When you speak, you will speak clearly. You will speak with purpose. You will speak so nobody leaves confused about who you are and what you stand for. Speak like your words matter, because they do. Speak like someone who knows where they're going. Speak like someone who's done the work and earned the right to be heard. That's how a leader talks. That's how a leader connects. That's how a leader builds something real. And that's the kind of person people choose to follow. Someone who makes their message clear every single time. Chapter 3. Control your voice before you try to lead. That's not a suggestion. It's a requirement. Because your voice is more than sound. It's your presence. It's your attitude. It's your energy. And if your voice is not steady, your leadership will never be trusted. You can have the best intentions, a brilliant mind, strong values, but if your voice shakes, if it wavers, if it sounds unsure or scattered, people will hesitate to follow you. Why? Because people don't just listen to what you say, they listen to how you say it. You see, leadership starts with how you carry yourself. And your voice is a direct reflection of your inner world. If you're nervous, people hear it. If you're angry, people hear it. If you're unsure, people hear it. You can't hide that. And the more emotional noise lives inside you, the harder it becomes to speak with strength and direction. That's why before you step into a leadership role, before you try to influence anyone, you have to learn to control your own tone, your volume, your rhythm, and your emotional state. A leader doesn't just talk, they command attention. And not by being loud, not by talking over others, but by using a steady, calm, grounded voice that tells people, I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to guide you. That's the difference. Loud people often want to be noticed. Grounded leaders want to be understood. There's a big difference between the two. When your voice is under control, people feel safe around you. They feel like you're not going to snap. You're not going to panic. You're not going to spin off into emotion. You're steady. And that steadiness creates trust. You can't lead if your voice is shaking every time you speak up. You can't lead if your tone changes with your mood. People get tired of following voices they can't predict. That unpredictability creates anxiety. And leadership is not about making people feel anxious. It's about giving them direction they can count on. So, how do you control your voice? You begin by becoming aware of it. Most people don't even notice how they sound. They've never listened to their tone. They've never recorded themselves. They don't know if they speak too fast, too soft, too harsh, or too flat. That's the first step, self-awareness. Take the time to really hear yourself. Are you clear? Are you firm? Do you sound like someone who believes what they're saying? Or do you sound like someone hoping to be accepted? The more you know how you sound, the more you can take control of it. You start choosing your tone instead of letting your emotions choose it for you. If you're frustrated, you don't raise your voice. You stay calm and address the issue directly. If you're excited, you don't speed up and lose people. Jobs endure. You hold the energy, but stay steady. Leadership demands that you show emotional control, and your voice is where people see it first. Another way to gain control is through breathing. Most people underestimate how important breathing is when you speak. Shallow breathing leads to fast talking, nervous energy, and shaky delivery. But when you slow your breath down, your voice naturally becomes stronger and deeper. You don't have to push it. It settles. It becomes deliberate, and people sense that control. Before every important conversation, every meeting, every decision, you center yourself. You breathe. You slow everything down internally, and then you speak. Control also means knowing when not to speak. A powerful voice isn't just about what you say, it's about what you hold back. If you speak out of impulse, you'll say things you regret. You'll create damage that takes a long time to repair. But if you train yourself to pause, to think, to listen, you'll speak fewer words, but they'll carry more weight. And that's what leadership communication is all about. Fewer words, more meaning. Think about the leaders you respect most. They didn't rush through their words. They didn't fumble. They didn't ramble on. They spoke with purpose. Every sentence had a job to do. Every word carried meaning. They weren't trying to sound important. They were grounded. That's what gave their voice authority. And that kind of authority doesn't come from titles. It doesn't come from volume. It comes from inner strength. It comes from discipline, and that discipline must be developed. You practice your voice like any other skill. You train it. You rehearse not to fake it, but to refine it.